As you can see, both my magazine's masthead and Mixmag's masthead are bright and stand out on the page. Mine is orange and yellow to fit with the colour scheme on the page, and Mixmag's is white to fit with the black and white theme of their front cover. Both mastheads use a unique design to go on top of the eye, as Mixmag uses a design which looks like a vinyl record and my masthead uses a crown. The cover lines on my magazine have a similar style to Mixmag's, as I used a black bar style that makes the cover lines stand out and easy to read, as they don't contrast with the background. The cover lines have different information, as my magazine issue is covering different mixes, hardware and DJs. The puff is similar on my magazine, as well as it uses a solid block colour with text on it. However, mine is slightly different because I have not underlined the text. Although it looks good on the Mixmag front cover, I have applied this style to mine and it did not look nice, so I left it off. The main cover line on my magazine is quite different to the main cover line of the Mixmag front cover. This is because I wanted to make the names of the producers stand out, so I used an abstract font to achieve this. I didn't want to include the black bars behind my main cover line, as they would cut out a big part of my main image and it would look out of place, as they would be significantly bigger than the other black bars behind my cover lines. My main image has some similar features to Mixmag's main image, however I have made it look slightly different to make my magazine front cover unique. Both main images have the model facing towards the camera with a neutral facial expression. My main image is a mid shot, whereas Mixmag's is a medium long shot. There isn't much difference between these shots, however I thought that a mid shot would be more suitable for my front cover. Both contents pages use a black background and white text that is easy to read and stands out. I decided to use the ruler style that Mixmag uses, where they section off the contents, heading, the date and the table of contents. I also included the rulers at the bottom where they give a small review about an album. My magazine contents page also has a similar layout in the table of contents to that of a Mixmag magazine, as I use white text to contrast with the black background. However, instead of keeping the headings similar to the text, I have made them orange so that they stand out more than the text and section the pages off into their categories. I decided to do this as the orange works really well on the page, as it ensures that the white isn't too overpowering and it also gives the page a bit of diversity in colour. On my content page, I have gone against the main style of Mixmag, as instead of using one large image, I have decided to use two images that are the same size that fill up a large part of the page. I thought that multiple images would be more suitable for my magazine, as my magazine covers a variety of content, so I tried to display two of the best aspects of this issue. I also used a thin white border around both of the images where Mixmag doesn't, as I wanted to add emphasis on these images and keep the white ruler and border effect throughout the page. I didn't use large page numbers on my images like Mixmag had. This is because I wanted to keep everything beneath the white line at the top roughly the same size, as larger pieces of text or numbers would look out of place and ruin the design I have gone for on my magazine. The numbers in my table of contents are orange, as they contrasted well with the white text adjacent to them and made it easier to identify what page number is associated with what article. My double-page spread has some similar and some different features when compared to this Mixmag article where Shogun is being interviewed. My Verso page includes some elements that Mixmag use, like having art of producer on the Verso page. My magazine is slightly different. Draxman is a duo, whereas Shogun is only singular, therefore the image of Draxman takes up all of the Verso page, so the headline and deck cannot be put in the same places as the deck in the article about Shogun. My headline and deck are positioned differently and use a very unique font. I decided to go against the sans serif font used for the deck, as I wanted my double page spread to be abstract and futuristic, so I used a font which looked quite futuristic. I kept the colour the same as Mixmag's, as white works well with the black and white colours of the background. The headline is quite eccentric, as the letters in Eye of the Storm look like they have been hit by a tornado, so they are spiked outwards and positioned so that they are not in a straight line. The colours for my headline do not follow the style that Mixmag use, as I went for a gradient of blues so that it mimics the colours of a tsunami, where there are dark and light blues, and uses a colour blend style that looks like the top of a hurricane. I did this so the headline would stand out and make the reader imagine the Eye of the Storm to be quite aggressive and unpredictable like the weather. I have given credit to the photographer and writer of the article differently to Mixmag, as I have included credit at the bottom of my Verso page. I have stated what job a person has done in orange and then given credit to them by putting their name in white beside it. This differs to Mixmag's chosen style, as they have given credit to the writer beneath the deck, however there is no credit given to the photographer. Although it is not present on this double page spread, Mixmag generally put the producer's name in bold if it is in the deck. This makes sure that it stands out and shows that it is an important part of the deck. I have included this as it works well with my deck and makes Draxman stand out slightly. The art on my double page spread uses similar features to the art on Mixmag's page, as Shogun is facing the front with his hands almost in his pockets. The person who is stood at the front in my art is also forward facing, however he has his hands in his pockets as it looks better due to him wearing a jacket, however the overall stance is identical. My art had to be slightly different as Draxton is a duo instead of just a singular producer, therefore I decided that the second member of Draxton would be stood slightly behind the first member as well as being stood side on. This means that the image isn't hard to focus on as the reader can distinguish both of the producers. I have used a similar design structure to Mixmag as I have separated the article into paragraphs that go down 2 columns and I have included extra information in the form of a Q&A instead of reviewing songs like they do in the Shogun article. Unlike the Shogun article, I don't use the same colour as the art. This is because the Q&A is behind a white background. This makes it easier to identify as being separate from the main body of text and makes the part of the page unique. I didn't want to follow the background design that Mixmag used, as white text works a lot better on a black background than it does on one that is multiple shades of blue and orange. On the vector page, I have took inspiration from Mixmag's double page spread, as I've also used a drop capital which covers a lot of space at the start of the article. I also added the blue storm effect over my drop capital, as a drop capital in Mixmag's double page spread uses the same design as a headline, so I decided to use this blue style for my drop capital. I've also included my own style as I have included a large pull quote in my article. Although this feature is often used, it isn't used in the Shogun article. I decided to use a pull quote as a reader may be skimming through the pages to find something that interests them. When they read "We decided to go all out in this album," the reader will be intrigued as they will want to read the article around Draxton and their recent releases as well as their album which is being created called Hurricane. My magazine double page spread does include features that Mixmags doesn't, as I have included folio on my vector page to remind the reader of what page they are on. I've made the number orange so that it fits with the house style of my magazine. I also made it orange as the page numbers on my contents page are orange, so the orange number theme is seen throughout.